All right,
And all right, we're live. Welcome, Blue Collar Millionaires. It's good to see you guys again. Me and Kevin are excited about our guest. Nate is in a high level mastermind with Kevin. I got the opportunity to listen to some of his gifts that he knows about marketing at Mark Evans DM's birthday bash over in Cleveland, Ohio. I guess this was a couple of months ago. So anyway, very impressed with his knowledge base. He is definitely an expert. That's why we got him on today to talk to you guys. So Nate, tell us something about yourself, where you started, what got you into marketing, and kind of where you're at today.
that could be a long journey. I'll give you the short version. So, yeah, well, man, I got into. I mean, typical kid growing up, man. I was shoveling snow up in Ohio and cut in the winter and cutting grass in the summer. Just always trying to make some money. I always figured I'd be some sort of entrepreneur. Grew up in that kind of a household, and uh, fast forward, save all the boring details, but I got into marketing at the first time I really got dialed into internet marketing was back in 2006. And
Wow.
a guy that we all know, Mark Evans from the Mastermind, weird whatever, but in the family thing, but I met him in 2006 because my wife and his wife were college roommates. At the time, we were both just dating them. They were our girlfriends, and that's how we randomly met. And I started talking brick and mortar because I owned a mortgage company and a construction company. He was doing some online stuff, did real estate. And we just started talking. And I think both of our wives at the time, girlfriends at the time, were like, what did we just do? Why did we, because him and I just basically hung out and just talked business the entire time. He was learning we were talking brick and mortar. I was intrigued by the internet world. Next thing you know, we're on a plane flying. This was in South Carolina. Next thing you know, we're on a plane flying out to California, going to Los Angeles to a Dan Kennedy Info Summit to try and learn about, online marketing. And he looked at me and was like, hey, man, you're going to want to buy everything that you see from everyone on stage today. He was like, just buy one thing and execute. And probably one of the
Wow.
better lessons
That's
I've learned
wise.
over the years, just buy one thing and execute. And so that's what I did. I just got into and I just really dove in. And the first, I bought a product on how to build personality within your copy, how to use personality, create personality within your copy by Dan Kennedy. Pretty good, cool course, simple course. And then from there, I started generating leads. And so I
Yeah.
was writing emails and started doing that. And that business was pretty cool. And then over the years, that evolved into a lot of people. Right in 2008, I had a mortgage company, construction company, and we built high end homes. So when that happened, we lost everything,
Right.
and we went through the crash, built back better. So we ended up building back, getting into the online space, flipping houses again, but leveraging internet full time as well. Built up and got to a point where I built these companies up leveraging sales funnels and paid traffic. And I ended up building them and selling them. And then shortly after that, people started asking me to help them do it. So in 2011, I started an agency, became the hired gun for many companies, building out their funnels and driving their traffic and everything else. And then in 2020, I pivoted, decided to own all of our own brands and create that environment that we owned our own brands, got rid of our clients, created our own brands. And now we send close to 75 million emails a month. We generate, a lot of leads a day. We've generated over 1 million leads so far just this year. So really dialed it in, and everything's online marketing. So
Wow. Let me
yeah.
dissect a couple of things because I want to make sure that everybody's following in case they've never jumped into this marketing world. We probably got a bunch of guys that know their skill set of service very well and they're out there executing it, or maybe they're even getting to just manage a team to execute it, but may not know the marketing side. So, what is copy?
So sales copy is really the page, the ad that you read, it's the landing page you land on, what it does. The end of the day, good copy is going to tell a story or talk to the person that's reading it, the customer, right? So you have a customer that you want to attract, and so you write copy that they can read. So it's communicating in print form, basically, right?
Yeah.
And with communicating with words, what you want them to do, right? So you want to engage, attract, engage, and then get them to take an action. And that's really what copy does. It's really the words on the paper. It's the words on the ad. It's the words on the landing page that are used to get your customer to do business with you.
Yeah. So, and then you said you took that copy and started doing email marketing.
Mm-hmm.
Who were you emailing to?
Real estate investors. So
Okay,
I started
so you had a database.
Yeah, so I started generating lists of real estate investors because I was still doing real estate, even though we lost a bunch of properties and everything. I was like, well, I didn't have credit, so I got into wholesaling. So what's one thing I learned from Mark was build a list of investors, email them when you got a deal.
Right.
Email them, when you don't have a deal. So just email them. And
so if you've got a list of 1,000 real estate investors, are you individually going on to your Google email and copy and pasting those 1,000 one at a time, or do you have a software?
Man, I am just way lazier than that. So absolutely not. So what we do is there's tools out there that you can use. They call them autoresponders, email systems, right? And you can load that list up and just email those people. As a matter of fact, you can actually create a process that's like, hey, day one, send this email. Day two, send this email. So you kind of create this like really cool client journey. So when you get new leads into your system, the ball doesn't get dropped, right? So yeah, super cool opportunity there. Like it's really what we're doing. You don't have to go in manually email them all. You just simply want to put them into one of these tools. Aweber, that's a simple one that's out there. Load the emails, send them an email, and say, communicate what you want with them. Send them a discount, right? If you're, right. Or maybe you got, if you're in the service business, and like one thing I have right now is I got a guy who does all of our window cleanings. It's Window by Vets company in my area. And what he does is he comes out and does all the cleaning and the gutters and everything else. And, I'm emailing him, but for him, an easy thing to do is just email us in the end of summer and say, hey, look, it's about time to get those spiders off your windows,
Absolutely.
Get a time booked, right? And he stays busy.
So what did you mean when you
go ahead, Kevin? I was going to say it's the most undervalued form of communication. Mm-hmm. I built an entire business like that. Was 70-80% of it was building email lists. I have huge ones, not like Nate, but I got like over 100,000 that I email out. Nate, how many emails do you send out a week right now?
Oh, we send out 75 million a month right now. So,
Jesus.
Quite a few.
People got to listen to him. He's not sending out 75 million because it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Right.
It's crazy. I hear people, I'm like, do you send out emails? They're like, no, I don't do that. I call. Like, imagine calling hundreds of people to try to line them up for the window cleaning at the end of the summer. It makes no sense. You could push one button and hit hundreds, thousands, millions.
Well, it's a game changer. What's really cool about that too, though, is if you send an email and then you drive them to a calendar to book their own time, right?
I know. So now, or you could have, what I do is I have virtual assistants. They're answering emails all day. People think it's me. I'm on the live stream here.
I thought you sent me one yesterday. That wasn't you?
Yeah, all day. And then I have VAs at night rereading them, making sure everything's getting right. I don't want to talk to anyone.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean.
So what did you mean?
You get it pretty standard, right? So you can very simplify that and take that off your plate. A lot of times people, my guy that used to cut our lawn, I was talking to him about using email in his company, and he'd be up late at night just responding to customers and everything else, and stressed out the next day. He's like up all day working at night trying to do all that stuff. You don't need to. You can simplify that so much.
Absolutely.
So what are the tools that our viewers would be able to plug into to be able to get this email marketing going?
Yeah, so ActiveCampaign is a good one. ConvertKit's another good one. Aweber. I don't use Aweber. I use it as a name because it's a name that's been around for a long time. But those are the two that I recommend that I use. It really just depends what you want. ConvertKit's super simple, super easy. ActiveCampaign's a little bit more advanced, kind of lead flows and processes and systems that you can build into it. But you don't need all that when you get started. Just get started. Just get an account. On one of those accounts, set it up, get your contacts loaded, and get some communication going.
Yeah. So what about MailChimp? I've heard that mentioned a lot when it comes to
Yeah,
email.
you know what? You can use MailChimp. It's a free tool to start. A lot of people use it, so I mean, it definitely works. I've never been the only MailChimp account I've ever used is I volunteer on the nonprofit organization here that is the Pop Warner Youth Football Team, and so they needed someone to help them with marketing, so I volunteered for that, and they had a MailChimp account. So, but it works. Send an email. It's easy.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
So what do we do if we want to build a bigger database? How can we source more leads? Let's say that, we've been in business 3 years. In the first 2 years, we were flying by the seat of our pants. And now we've just gotten a CRM system collecting that database. So we've only got a year's worth. And we would really like to grow that email marketing. Where would we find new leads outside of just looking at our past customers?
So that's a great question. Past customers are always great rebuy customers, right?
Right.
And then but from there, I'm an advocate of paid ads, right? So I like to run Facebook ads, not just post on social, right? Some people call it just, social ads or social media, posting on your business fan page isn't running an ad. Boosting that to me is not running ads. There's Google ads. So if we're talking to local companies here, right? Like the things I would focus on is depending on your niche, Facebook ads, Google ads, and then also a simple tool like that a lot of people don't use. But think about how many times you guys pull up Google Maps and you search, or if you're on Google and you search local, what happens, right? Is the maps pulls up of the places that are based on your location that are closest to you. And people buy those spaces. And then also the reviews and everything else that you get help you, do that as well. So if I land on a Google place and I look and I'm like, all right, well, this person doesn't have any reviews, or this person doesn't even have a website I can click on, it just doesn't look as good in regards to the person that if I go to, I'm like, oh, they've got a couple photos. They took a little bit of energy to make themselves look, have an online presence. So I think to go back and answer your question a little bit better is I would make sure that I had my online presence dialed in, right? I would have my Facebook fan page. I would potentially, if it makes sense, have an Instagram page for your business, if it makes sense. I would have my Google Places set up, and then I would make sure that and my website set up. I'd have all those pieces kind of, there. So you have a legit presence. If you have a fan page, it doesn't take you any time to just post something once a week on it. So it looks like there's actual activity when somebody lands on the page. It's not like, if I'm looking to see if a company's still in business or someone I want to call and I go to their fan page and I see, oh, wait a minute, they haven't posted since 2019.
Right.
I might not call them, right?
Yeah.
So, and it doesn't take much to just do a simple post of, especially, if you're out at a job, hey, just finished up this lawn, picture, or hey, we just put on a new roof, or, hey, all these different things that you can take pictures of projects and jobs that you're at and things that you're doing. So, and then even taking local articles that are in your local papers that are about the community that you work in. It's simple stuff you can post, but it's make sure your presence is there. And then once I have that, I would go into paid ads, because once I get into paid ads, you can control, right?
Yeah.
So referrals are great, phenomenal way to build a business and keep repeat business. And, it's almost like a free customer, right? On a referral. And then paid ads, you're paying to acquire a customer, but at the same time, you can run paid ads at all times to get leads in the door and then get customers in the door, right?
Do you have a format of how you build your copy? Because I know as I've been going through the entrepreneurial journey, I've learned that I need to know what my customers' pain points are. And then if I know those pain points, then I can talk to those pain points so that they see that I'm solving their problem. Do you kind of build your copy in that manner, or do you have some type of strategy when you do that?
So yes, I'm always starting on pain. You got to know their pain points, right? Because people will run from pain Well, people are opposite of us as entrepreneurs. We're running towards the stuff that excites us, an opportunity. Whereas the majority of people are running from pain, and they're just not. We're a different breed. So it's, for me, I want to know what's the big problem they need to solve, right? And so I want to break it down. And I know when I look at I look at a company, I'm going to go, all right, what are the 3 core problems your company has or your customers have? Because, and I'll explain why we do 3. If you could do 3, you could do 5. But then also, what is that customer thinking? What's keeping them awake at night? That's stressing them out, or what are they thinking, right? And so you've got the problem, and then you've got the feeling from the problem that they have, right?
Right.
And so I want to cover those because I want to understand those pieces. So when I write an email or write an ad, I can pick one of those people and say, I want to talk to, Jane over here, who is whatever, maybe you start labeling these people a name. You got Jane, Joe, and Bob, whatever. Those 3 very simple names for us. But and I would say, all right, Jane's got problem 1, Joe's got problem 2, Bob's got problem 3. Now I'm writing and communicating to that individual when I'm trying to write ads. The problem is so many people try to run an ad, or they try and write an email, or they try and write an advertisement to speak to everybody at the same time. I don't want to do that. I want to speak to the one person that I'm trying to help. And so that's one thing I would do on the copy. You don't need a lot of copy. You don't need a ton of it. You just need the right message to the right person at the right time. And I would write that down. You want the right message to the right person at the right time. And as opposed to a general message to everybody all the time. So.
Right. Yeah, I like that. One way I find out the pain points of my customers is when they call in, they're going to tell you why they're calling. And if you'll sit there and document as you're taking the phone calls, or if someone else is taking the phone calls, ask them, ask, like my lady's called a coordinator, the one that's grabbing the calls. So I'll ask my coordinator, why are they calling? So they'll say, hey, I'm calling because my dog, we got a cleaning business and we clean carpet is within that cleaning business. So they'll call and say, hey, my dog had an accident on the carpet. So at that point, I know that's a problem, and I'm focusing on animal owners, and that would be that one person. So just through a phone call, you can capture those pain points if you're already active in business. I love that. What you mentioned that you at this point pretty much fired all of your customers, and now you're building out. Explain more about what you did after you fired your customers. You're building out your own companies. And
so, yeah, I've done, in 2020, I was sitting I lived in California at the time, lived in San Diego. We were in Florida hanging out, and I was at my 40th birthday dinner with my wife and 2 kids. It's my 40th birthday. We went out to dinner, found some nice little restaurant, just hung out. And that night I get a phone call and text messages from a client who's freaking out about something that was going on. It was a problem he created, right? And I'm like, man, I can't even sit here and enjoy my damn day, at night on a Saturday. So I looked at my wife. I said, I need to get back to the point where I used to only send emails. I'd wake up, I'd send an email, I'd make money, and you and I would go hang out. And my wife and I did that for 9 months, and we traveled and just stayed in vacation rentals back then because Airbnb wasn't around yet. So did these month-long vacation rentals and traveled and did all that. And I'm like, I need to get back to that. And so in 2020, I basically said, hey, I need to I need to start building my own list, my own audiences that I own, my own brands, and I'm going to let go of all my clients. So I say fired all my clients because it's a little bit more sensational and sounds awesome. Yeah. But at the end of the day, I went to all my clients in a respectful manner because they've been with me for a long time. Like, hey, here's what I'm doing. Let's get me and my team replaced with somebody that can, do what we do. And had those conversations, and it was a very tough thing to do when some of my clients pay me upwards $25,000, $40,000 a month to do all their, my team to do all their stuff. So that was a tough cord to cut. And it took me a couple months, even though I said it, right? So I ended up cutting the cord with them and building my own brands. And we got into the media. So we started creating large brands, conservative media brands, and started just generating leads and lots of leads and sending newsletters every day. We started using these things called that we call polls now. And these polls are things that we use. We ask people's opinion, and then they subscribe, and then we follow up with the answer via email. So we're getting them to subscribe and then engage in email is our biggest goal, right? And then, so I built all those up, and I'm like, I didn't take on any clients. We did all that. And then I turned around and ended up acquiring a company in the same space that I was in last year. And then I kind of started branching out a little bit. And then we just launched a coffee company called Liberty Coffee for that audience, right? Because we own this audience. Our full database is around 3 million that we've acquired in leads so far. So it's getting bigger. So we get that whole audience. We're like, well, how do we create a product for them that we own as well? And so all this other stuff were just newsletter brands, not physical products. So the coffee brand is our first physical product that we're selling. And then just recently, in last month, I decided to start hosting events. I start kind of taking companies that don't leverage email, that don't leverage lead gen, bringing them in, helping them build that infrastructure into their business, and then help them get that into their business more in a consulting avenue, and let them, sit in a room and pick my brain and be able to execute that stuff in their business so they can make more money using it, and then more of a consulting role as opposed to done for you, right? But I enjoy that piece. So but it took me just until last month to start doing that after we built up all of our brands. So.
Well, tell us about that event, Nate, because that was kind of what triggered when I knew you were having the event. I was thinking, blue collar guys never do this, and I know because it's been like the number one reason why my company has gotten really big. It's the marketing aspect, and because I go after big clients, but I did it building databases and emails. I'm not nearly as skilled as you at doing it. But I know that any company, a guy who goes to your event, something like that, he learns that, he implements that, he's going to make so much money. Because when you're saying it's so like it's nothing, I built a database of 3 million. I mean, for a guy to build, if somebody builds 30,000 in their area and they're emailing them and they're writing good copy and they can use artificial intelligence, which you can talk about, you talked about on stage. It's like a game changer. You're going to have so many leads, you're not going to know what to do with them. That's what happens.
Yeah, 100%. And it gets to the point where there's so many things that you can do once you have the lead volume, right? Or once you have consistent lead flow into your business, and you know how to generate the leads, you'll never starve, right? No matter what the market is. So in the event. So what I did I think what it was, so in 1 week, we had last month, I said we sent about 75 million emails, and we generated, it was 500 million emails so far this year, and 1 million leads so far in this year that we had sent, right? But those numbers are big. I guess I do kind of brush over them because it's so common to me now, right? Like it becomes like, oh, we sent 500 million emails. But if local companies, so back when I had my agency, another thing that I did is I worked with a lot of gyms as well at one point. And the gyms that I worked with, one of my clients he had 5 locations when we started working with him on his marketing. And the way that he was able to grow and scale to 100 locations very, very fast in about a 3-year period was because we worked with him in developing a lead gen process, right? And that lead gen process was just, he could go into a market, we could put the page in place, turn on the traffic, and leads would flow into his business. And he had and he was phenomenal with the systems of closing and running the business and everything else. Flooded it. He would basically go in and dominate new markets. And that's how he spread across the country up to over 100 locations. And so it's the power of having email, right? And lead gen and email into your business. And then he would email them consistently too. But you don't need a big database. You can have 500 people. You can have 1,000. When I first started emailing, my mom was my only subscriber, So it doesn't matter. The key is just doing it. But the there's guys that make millions of dollars on a couple thousand people a month on a millions of dollars a year just by, a few thousand people on a newsletter or subscriber base. So definitely you don't need massive emails, but you do need to have it in your game, because it is, I've watched it and seen it. And not only by doing, but also by helping people go and add $1 million of revenue into their business just by executing on email. If I'm ever looking to buy a business, the first thing I look at is, are they using email? How big is your customer database? And have you sent them an email? And it's amazing to me how many companies making millions of dollars a year have never sent a single email, and how fast you can add, to the bottom line of that business, 7 figures so quick just by using email. And it's profit at that point, because these people are already there. They're already in your business. They've already worked with you, right?
Yeah, that's huge. So I think a great takeaway I'd like you to talk more about, you kind of just scaled right past it, is asking people's opinion. Because somebody over here has asked, how do you get the names? Like, what program do you use to get the emails? So can you talk to us about that whole opinion gathering that you do on social media to get emails?
Yeah, so what I'll do is polls, right? So every customer base has something that they're passionate about or that they truly care about. I usually look at it that way. And then what I want to do is I want to ask them questions about those passionate topics. And it can be as simple as yes or no. It could be, do you prefer, it could be as simple as, do you prefer A or B? Like whatever the topic is, right? So and I'll go back to what we've done a lot in the conservative space, but we'll ask questions like, is Joe Biden doing a good job? Mm-hmm. Back even then, should Donald Trump be reelected, right? Those are that's a much larger market doing that kind of stuff, right? But you can take that same concept, and we've taken that same concept to help other smaller companies leverage that, because if you know your customers about a specific thing or they need help with something, you can ask these polls, they subscribe. And then when they subscribe, you have them on your database. And for us, the leads we've done all kinds of like really extreme, like sales funnels and processes. And this to me was when we finally started doing these and leveraging these, it was just so much easier to acquire leads. And then once we acquire leads, we wanted to convert them with our email follow-up, as opposed to, I'd rather have more leads than less leads. Like the whole marketing industry kind of got to a point where all they wanted, hey, I just want the only qualified leads to come into my system. I'm like, well, I'll take everyone else then, because I'll qualify them the next day and the day after that and the day after that. Yeah. If you're just trying to, people, they gotten kind of this point where they think they should get only qualified leads on day one. I'd rather give me all the leads, because I can extract the qualified ones.
So Nate, you're setting up these polls on Facebook?
So I use landing pages for it. So
what, somebody goes on there and you ask them about Joe Biden and they say, I hate Joe Biden, all this. And then you kind of think, all right, he's in the ballpark of this conservative niche I'm trying to build. Then what's the next thing? What gets them to give the email?
So they'll pull up to a page. So I'll run the ad. They'll click on the link. They'll go to my landing page on my website.
Okay. Now they're separate. Okay.
Now they're separate. So So really what we're doing is siphoning leads off of Facebook and Google, right? So we're using them, and this is another important piece, right? So I don't want to gloss over this, but with Facebook, Google, they can shut your account down anytime.
Yeah.
I've had it happen. Matter of fact, Google shut my account down 2 days before I was getting married. And that's all my money. I mean, I had my machine was churning. So I was spending and making. So I was, spending $1,000 a day, making $1,500 a day. And then, just on front, just churning. And we had that stuff going, and then scaling up, and they'd shut us down. And so I'm like, oh, great. I'm getting married tomorrow. Here in a couple of days. This is sweet. I got to solve this problem. So I was like, how do I solve that? Right. So then I just got back into just collecting emails when that happened, because emails is your audience. You own it. You control it. So we use the big platforms to bring the audience to us, right? Because that's what they're there. They got massive audiences. And then what we're trying to do is get our consumers, our audience on our email list that we own, because I'd rather, if I can have 1,000 people that are targeted on my email list, even though Facebook may have more, I know that if Facebook shuts me down, we can still communicate and generate revenue and keep business going by emailing those 1,000 people that are targeted for us, right?
So if you're running an ad on Facebook and you're doing this poll situation, you set an ad up on Facebook, you've got a website, and in that ad on, let's take carpet cleaning, for instance. So I want to run an ad to extract customers so that I can get emails that I can potentially do this email drip campaign to for carpet cleaning. So give me an idea of what an ad would look like. And I know this is just off the cuff.
So what is the big problem that carpet customer comes? I mean, what are some of the flooring? Like, first thing goes to my mind is the different flooring styles, right? So
yeah. So we're gonna take carpet as a general, we're just gonna call it carpet. That's the flooring that we're attacking. And let's say that we're going after the pet urine issue because most people have pets nowadays. And they don't like the yellow spot on their white carpet.
Yeah. So it's an interesting story before I answer the poll on that. I rented my house out when I lived in California. I rented my house out to a guy, and he was like, when he rented it, he was like, it's just going to be me and my wife. My mom will be here once in a while. My daughter's back visiting. She'll stay here. We come back. He had like a whole gang of people living in the house. And then he had 4 dogs in the house, 3 dogs in the house. Wow. And we got the carpets cleaned when we moved back in. And I'm like, the guy was like, I didn't, my dogs were always outside. They never were never in the house. Carpet cleaner was like, man, there is more dog pee up in this carpet up here than I've seen in like all kinds of houses. But luckily they got it cleaned up, and then we just replaced the carpet. But so that's probably don't want. I would say, for me, you could roll into something along the lines of, I'd ask that, it can be as simple as, hey, are you dealing with pet stains in your carpet?
What if I did something totally off of the carpet? What if we asked, what kind of pet do they prefer, small, medium, or large, as a poll? Yep. And then I know they've got pets, probably in the house. So now, how do I get them over to that landing page? What does that ad look like?
The ad's gonna say, do you have home or pets in your home, right? So that's kind of
I know I'm catching you off guard.
I'm not on the spot kind of guy. I got to noodle on this stuff and figure it out. So let's go back to my original one. So so you could say, hey, look, if you have do you have pets in your home? And that's the ads talking about the pets. And then in that ad copy, you're going to say, by the way, have they ever peed on your carpet, whatever, so click here. So they click here, and it's got a poll. Hey, has your animal ever peed on your carpet and left a stain? Yes or no? Yes. Boom, pop up. Would you like a 10% off coupon for cleaning your carpet? Subscribe now, right? So that's a simple way you can leverage it locally.
Gotcha. So the ad got into the landing page, and the landing page had the poll portion.
Yeah. And the poll is, so the key with the poll is so you can do big surveys, and that was the thing back in the day, and still a lot of people use them, and surveys are great. But for me, in marketing, the key portion is like micro commitments, right? You want someone to take, the key is you want them to read, you want to stop and see the image, read the ad. They read the ad, you want them to click the ad to go to your landing page. Once they get on my landing page, if you got this big form to fill out, most people are bailing. So what I want to do is I want to get them invested in that page as fast as possible. And so by asking them a yes or no question or a very simple question, boom, they click, they've taken an action, they're committed, right? And when they're committed, the conversion rates go up.
Micro commitments. I like that, man.
I like, because I'm one, if I don't have pets, but if it says something like, want to know what to do as soon as your pet urinates on your rug or something like that, what's the first 2 things, what you have to do in the first 30 minutes? I click on those things. I always want to know solutions. If I go on those things, I know exactly what's going on. If they give me a good copy and solution, I'll go into their email. That's what I do. I want to know those little answers. For that one, it doesn't matter because I don't have pets, but there's a million others I always want to know.
Yeah, and even with that example, you can say, do you know what you should do? Because everyone believes.
And when you don't know, you're like, yes, click.
And so then you give them option 1 that's right and option 2 that's wrong, right? And let them pick.
So-
and then they're committed because they want to know, right? They want to know they're right.
So Nate, I was just thinking this because Chris and I are building this email list for Blue Collar Millionaire. We bring on Facebook users now. We get their email. We send them a PDF on 5 things to increase their revenue really fast. People are giving emails. It's cool. If we wanted to do kind of a poll, maybe we would do something like, do you want to know how to, I don't know, do you want to know how to triple your business, your service business inside 16 months or something like that? Maybe we would do something like that and get them over there, because we're looking to grow this as well. And I love this idea. I love the email list because I can see us having 10, 15, 20,000 emails where we're sending value to them, telling them about events, telling them about course, telling them about I just like to help. And I think it could be really good. How would we go about that? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think, you could come up with a question or figure out a data and date, right? Because, what's the average revenue of and it doesn't have to be yes or no. It could be,
all right, that's a good one.
Revenue of local service companies. And then they land on a page and it's like 100,000, under 100,000, or 100,000 to 500, whatever those tiers are, right? And they pick. And then you can have them land on the page that'll have that after they subscribe, right? So you can do some along. Polls don't have to be just a 2-question thing. That's just how we've leveraged them. But we've also done some bigger ones too with more. It gives them an option to pick. And so when you do that, it's there because what they're doing, because you're speaking to service providers in the ad, right? Let's just say service providers, obviously a large industry.
Yeah.
But service providers, and then you're driving them on the page and saying, hey, talking to them in that manner, then they subscribe to get that answer. Right.
I like it, man.
So, that's one way, and I think revenue is obviously an easy one that came out top of the head, but there's other stuff if we ever sat down and really dove into it, we could come up with some really good ones too.
So is this what you do in your mastermind that you're doing?
Yeah. So my thing's just a 2-day event that I do, Polls to Profits. And it's people they come in small. It's 3 to 5 people, because we're executing. Wow. It's not a big thing. It's, I do it because I enjoy it. And and I'm not a big event kind of guy. I'm introverted, but I enjoy small groups of people and being able to kind of collaborate and work and grow. And so that's why we're doing the events, 3 to 5 people. We come hang out. It's in my office here in North Carolina. And, teams working while we're in here kind of just.
You're in Concord, right next to Charlotte, right?
So I'm in Cornelius.
Oh, Cornelius.
So I'm on Lake Norman, north of Charlotte. Yep.
Okay. When is your event going to be?
It is September 14th and 15th. So.
All right. I'm going to put the link in here later on when we post this. But it's such a if a company does this, it's going to be such a no-brainer for them. It's just to get the flow. And then, of course, they're just going to build on that. The last part of it is when people were asking about copy, we could talk about how you use AI, which I thought was really cool. And you sent me that PDF. I'm already on that. So, but people, a lot of times they write copy about themselves. Like if you're an insurance agency and you're like, we've been in business since 1903, they blah, blah, blah. Nobody cares. I always get to like, who am I speaking to and what do they want to hear? Just like the carpet cleaning, the people want to know how to get the urine off their thing. You can bring them back. Your website, your reviews can do that, all that, how long you've been in business for you. That will be your thing, but you need to catch them and speak to them and show value to them. But how do you use the artificial intelligence to help people write copy?
So the artificial intelligence stuff, there's tools that are out there that allow you, that'll do it for you, right? So you can plug in the pain points and different pieces and they write copy. So it's like you plug the piece in and click a button and it'll write some copy for you. So it's crazy. It's not the best copy in the world, right? It's not an A+ copywriter or anything like that. But frankly, it's good enough for most people. If you've never sent an email before and you're scared and you constantly keep saying, well, I'm not going to send an email because I don't know what to write. You now have no excuse because you can go hook up with one of these tools that are out there that will allow you to write copy, that'll help you write the copy by basically plugging some pieces in and write it for you, so you don't got to worry about being, the best wordsmith. And then you can send that email out, and those emails, most of the time are going to be good enough for companies, especially if they've never sent an email, because it's better than not sending anything.
And it could be a starting point where you get it, and then you can just look at it for an hour and be like, let me change this around. Sometimes you just need an outline, and then you can do it. The other way you can do that, sometimes people say, I like your copy, Kevin. How do you do that on thing? I'll tell you what I did. I watched your copy. I like Chris's copy. I like Matt Larson's copy. I like Kyle Million's copy. And I just kind of reverse engineered it. I see what guys are doing. They're telling a story. They're touching a pain point. They're coming up with a solution. They're not being an arrogant jerk. Like, look at me. I know everything. And it's authentic to that person. And you got to write it so it's authentic to you. That copy works for people. We're human. It works. And then you keep it short enough. And you talk to one person. Mm-hmm. One thing that Tim Broad told me, it stuck with me. He saw something on my camera. He's like, just talk like you're talking to one person, and you'll do much better. Sometimes we want to talk to everybody.
Yep.
And you were saying that before. I did that too. You feel like, I'm going to talk to everybody. It doesn't work. Just keep it direct, like you're talking to your buddy and you're explaining something, and you care about it. You want to help them.
And so when I'm going to write something, I've got a little, I call it my fireside chat formula, kind of. So I kind of write down, like, what's the big lesson? What do I want? What do I want someone to learn when they engage with this? Then from there, it's what's a story I can tell or intertwine that helps me bond, right, with the customer or the person that's reading it. And then I look at, like, kind of, 1 to 3 kind of quick bullets. And I go, all right, so if I'm trying to write, I've got the big aha moment. I've got the bonding moment. I've got 3 bullets to help me kind of craft the right story and messaging. And then and that's it. I try and keep it super simple. Mm-hmm. And I think the biggest thing, and I struggle sometimes on the bonding piece, right? And I had hired a consultant a while back, and he was helping me do some rebranding. And he's like, we really got to get you sharing more. So on the bonding side. So it's, it's not perfect, and we're always our own worst critic, but you just got to put it out there.
You wrote a good one a few months back about I think in 2006-07, when you were learning it yourself, you were teaching yourself, and you wrote, and it kind of didn't work in the beginning. And a lot of people just abort right at that point. Imagine if you did.
Yeah.
Your life would be totally different. It just stuck to me because I know how successful you are now and how great you're doing. And I never really think about it, even though that's my story and everybody's. We were all down at one point trying to figure shit out. But I was like, all right, Nate went through that. And it just made me, I don't know, even connect with you more. It really works because people are like, oh, they're either in that spot, they were at that spot, whatever it is, people can connect to that story. You didn't just come out with 75 million emails. Doesn't work like that,
No, we don't do that. That did not happen. It's when you tell the bonding stories, which is one thing that Mark and I talk about often, it's like, you got to tell the same stories and the same things to different people, right? The problem is we tell a story and then we just assume someone who came into our world, we tell a story a month ago, and then someone who's new in our world this month, we assume they've already seen it or they know it.
They haven't.
Right? Yep. We got to say the same things, the same message as we're growing our audiences, right? And the same thing, same thing over to different people, to more people.
Dude, the most engagement that I get is when I tell the bonding stories on my social media platforms. So that rags to riches kind of story, they love, people can relate to that failure, then success. Because so many people will stop at the failure and just consider themselves as not fortunate enough to have the success. So when they see someone come out of that, it gives them hope and encouragement to keep pushing. And instantly you start getting a ton of engagement. I'm sure if I pulled up the analytics of all of my posts, it would be the ones that are those, as you're calling them, bonding posts that had the most engagement and shares.
Yep, absolutely. And it's just one thing that made me think of on the service industry side, service business, right? So you can be the hero. So think about how many clients have come to you guys over the years that someone had just done an awful job. They hired the wrong person,
Absolutely.
right? And you're like, you know what? This person came with us here. This could be an email. The challenge they were having, which is always one of the problems someone on your Scribe base is going to have. And then here's the problem they had, and they dealt with a company that left it, whatever. You don't want to go call companies out and bash people, but you can say,
Right.
here's how we were able to step in and help.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're not bashing the other company. You're telling the story, which is the true story. But at the same time, there's a villain and there's a hero.
Yep.
And you can do that on the local side. Very, very easy. Right. So, and when you're thinking about writing, just telling in the service side, telling a customer story. Not even so much for us, it's rags to riches. And like you talked about, like we tell those in the education space, but in the service side, your customer can also be the story of how you helped them and what their problem was. Right. So those are easy things. Right. And if you're at jobs every week, you got a story to tell every week.
Absolutely. I love it, man.
I like that. The customers, they want to hear that story because then they're like, they know which side of where they're going to end up on that end of that story. On the good one, they got the hero with them, not the villain.
Nate, do you have any more spots left on your event that you're throwing in September, or are you full yet?
No, I do actually have 2 spots. I had one, and then the one guy just recently said he can't make it because his son's starting school that same day. So he's not gonna be able to make it. So that opened up a second one that came in last night. So we got 2. If anyone's interested, they can it's at natekennedy.com. There's starts off with a poll, 1 question poll. So, and when you go there and just fill that form out, you'll see it right on the homepage, Pull to Profit event, apply to access, click on that and you can get more details on it. And it'll be, right there and we can jump on, talk, make sure it's a fit, I think the biggest thing is, there's people that sometimes want to come, but I just want to make sure they're going to gain value from it.
Right.
Like if you have no business in place right now, like that's probably not the best time. This is not the best place for you to come. But if you got a business in place and you've got customers and that you're not executing on email and it's going to benefit you, like we can make you a lot of money and help you with that.
Yeah. If you can create a win-win, you're going to do it. Otherwise, it's just, they can come back to the next one if they get that built up in a year or 2.
Absolutely.
That's how I feel.
Awesome,
you got natekennedy.com. That's great. You got that website.
When I learned about the internet, I was like, I got to get that right away.
I should have. Some Irish actors got every kevinmarin.com. This guy, he looks just like me on Google. He's bald. He's got blue eyes.
Does it?
I'm like, this guy, he's like 2 years younger than me. I messaged him. I'm like, give me some of this shit, man.
That's awesome. Dude, man, we appreciate your time. Me and Kevin are man, time is most valuable thing that we have. And the fact that you just
we
took
really appreciate you coming on, Nate.
45 minutes to come on and share with our group of blue collar millionaires. We much appreciate it. We'll drop your link. Everybody watching, the link's going to be into the comments. If this is a good fit, I highly recommend you to go ahead and walk his process and have a conversation with them and see if this is where you need to be to take your business to the next level.
And guys, I'm just grateful. Thank you for inviting me on to be able to share. I enjoy that. It's one thing I enjoy the most, being able to share some information, help people out. And you guys are doing some really cool stuff, man. So you guys, if you're in the group, you guys are in the right group. I know that because you got Kevin and Chris are rock stars, man, and they're going to help you guys get where you need to go. So just
I appreciate it.
Keep engaging and keep listening and keep growing. So thank you guys. I appreciate
it. All right. Till next time.
Thank you.